I'm Hilary and this is my husband Matthew, and we are back as promised for the second part of our home Q&A video. So if you haven't checked out the first part and if you haven't seen the home tour video, do check it out so that you have some context as to why we are sharing this. So as promised, I'll be sharing two main categories of questions in this video. One will be renovation related questions and the second one will be finances related questions. So on to our renovation related questions, and this is the question that has been asked the most number of times. How much did it cost? So it cost us about 28,000, and this excludes the furniture and appliances lah. And our second and last question with regards to renovation will be what was your experience like finding an interior designer? So in terms of finding an interior designer, actually we did consider the option of we were comparing between the options of getting an interior designer and getting our own contractors to just do the work with what we had in mind, with the design that we had in mind. So I think for us, we actually had quite a clear idea of the kind of house we wanted in terms of the design. So we were actually quite okay to find like our own contractors. We didn't really need a designer. I mean, that's what we thought at the point in time. So when making the decision, we actually found out that, I mean, if you do get your own contractors, then the one managing the entire project of the house renovation will be you lah. So because contractors, you have to get different people to do different parts of the house. So you get a contractor for flooring, you get a contractor for carpentry, you get a contractor for plumbing, and then you yourself, you gather all these people and arrange for them to come down at which time to do the work lah. As compared to an interior designer, on top of the design work that he does for you, he also helps you to manage the project. He helps you to arrange, and based on his contacts, he will find the relevant and appropriate contractors to come and do the work lah. So it is possible to get contractors to do the work for you and you manage your own project. But for us, because we didn't really have a lot of time at that point, because we were preparing for the wedding, and I was also just starting work lah, and his work was also quite busy. So we decided both of us, we couldn't really commit to being the one to manage the project. So we decided to go with an interior designer instead. It was more suitable for us at that point in time. So if you are keen to look for contractors, I think I would recommend that you ask friends who have had experience of getting contractors to do their house, because I think a lot of times it's a bit safer and a bit more reliable to get contacts and reviews from people that you know lah, rather than you just find them off online through websites. So the second part to our experience of finding an interior designer was how did we decide which interior designer was suitable for us. So I think for us, we actually met up with five interior designers all together. And how we found these interior designers was mainly through research online lah. So we looked at forums, we looked at websites. So there's this website called Canvas, which is actually quite helpful. They show you the design of the house, they tell you the rough cost of it and which was the company that did it, which designer did it. And I think even some of the designs, even the homeowners, they're actually open to answer your questions also if you have any. So you can check that website out. And after meeting up with all five interior designers, how we decided which ID to go with, it was mostly dependent on what we prioritized and what we really valued. So just to share an experience, story time, we actually met up with one ID who, he was a really nice guy. And I think he was also quite, he's a very passionate guy lah. So we actually talked to him about what already came with our house. And for our house, we didn't have this thing called screeding. Typically, I think if you get it in the BTO round, then the screeding, you can opt for it lah. You can opt for HDB to do it for you, and the cost is lower than if you get a contractor outside to do it. So what happened was we shared with this ID that our house doesn't come with screeding because we didn't get it during the BTO process. Then he was like, I do have some clients who actually write into HDB to request for them to do it lah. Then we were like, that sounds possible and good lah. So how do we go about doing that? Then he shared with us that but HDB doesn't really take on all kinds of cases. When you write into them, you must explain like how bad your situation is. You really need to save the money because you're having some financial difficulties, and like you really need their help to get the screening done. So can they please help you? Then the two of us were like, so means like we have to exaggerate our situation? He was like, yeah, kinda exaggerate and maybe have to make it sound a bit more poor thing lah. Then at the end of the whole meeting, right, after he left and all that, we were like, okay, we're not going with this guy. Because essentially he was telling us to lie about our situation, and we weren't very okay with that, we weren't very comfortable with it. And we also had the question of like, if he can encourage us to do this, then would he be honest enough with us lah when he was doing our house? Would he be honest enough to really help us to find the best deals, and to make sure that there are no hidden costs in the entire renovation process? So for us, at the end of that meeting, I think we came to a realization that actually honesty is something that we value very much. And another thing was also humility. In terms of like how much this person is willing to listen to your opinions and your suggestions and to take that into consideration rather than him just insisting on his own expert opinion lah. So based on that, we came to a decision to go with our interior designer, who is Victor, who is also a very good friend of ours. Yeah. So Victor is someone who is very honest and who is very humble. He's someone that really worked with us to make sure that we kept within our budget. He was very honest in terms of like telling us the pros and cons of each item in our renovation process. Like for example, if the flooring, right, it was cheaper, he won't come and like try and upsell you the more expensive option so that you will go for it, and then maybe he might earn more from the commission and whatnot. He will tell us like honestly, like if this is good enough, like even though it's cheaper, you might think that it might be not as good quality, but it's good enough with what you are looking for lah. So that was something that we really appreciated. And Victor was also very conscious about our limitations. He always checked in with us before he made a decision, make sure that we were okay with the price, and he will always calculate the cost and let us know like, okay, like based on your budget, if we go for this option, maybe you might have to pay a bit more, and in total this will be how much it costs. Are you okay with it? And of course, the thing that we treasured the most was how honest and reliable he was lah. He really accounted to us throughout the entire process, like what was the renovation journey, like what was the progress. Yeah, and I think that was something that was very important for us, because if you think about it, you are leaving your house in the hands of someone else, and you don't have the time to always be coming back to check in on the renovation progress. You don't have the time to be watching up in terms of how the contractors were going to do their work. You don't have the time sometimes to even go and track so closely as to where all the expenses are going to. So I think it's super important that you find someone who you can trust and you feel comfortable being open about like some of your limitations and considerations.
By the way, we are not paid to advertise or anything. We just really think that our ID has done such a great job with our house, and we are very thankful. Do reach out to him if you feel like he might be a suitable ID for you. We really think that he's a very trustworthy person, and that is why we are recommending him. It's not like because he, I don't know, gave us some super discount or some sponsorship. No, it's really because we think he's done such a good job with our house, and we're very thankful to him.
So his company name is actually 3 Lights Interior. I think they're going through some rebranding. So when you go to their Facebook and Instagram, maybe you might see a different name under, I think the other name is ATLD, but it's the same guy. So I will leave the link of to his Facebook and to his Instagram page down in the description box. You can reach out to him through that platform and just let him know that you saw Hillary's video, and that's how you ended up getting his contact.
So we'll move on to the next part, which is on our finances. Questions about how we budgeted and how much we spent on the different parts of our house. We want to say first and foremost that it was really because of the generosity of our family and how supportive that they were in this journey. They really helped us out so much with the ang pao, the housewarming gifts and all these things that that actually we have a furnished house to stay in. So really very thankful for them as well. So the first question is how much we spent on the different parts of the house. And to break it down, we spent 28,000 on the renovations alone. For furniture, we spent $9,000, but we didn't spend it all at one go. We kind of bought the more essential things first, and then along the way we added on more furniture. For appliances, we spent a total of $11,000 or so, but we didn't pay for most of it. It was really our family who kind of helped out in paying for all these appliances, so they were really very kind in that. Yeah, I think we paid only $1,000 or $2,000, maybe around $2,000. Yeah, and you know, they paid the remaining amount for the appliances. Second question, how did we finance the house? Savings, family, and our cancelled wedding. It's quite interesting because initially we did not expect to be able to furnish the house so well, and it was really because the wedding got cancelled because of COVID, and then all the expenditure that we set aside for the wedding could then go to furnishing the house, and that's why we have a lot more furniture than we actually expected. Yeah, so it was really difficult, you know, just putting together the savings part especially. We really worked very hard on saving to make sure that we can afford, you know, getting married at a pretty young age, I would say.
And our third question, what was the process like for you guys to plan to save/budget? Okay, so I'll talk a bit more about the budgeting first. So for budgeting, we made use of a lot of Excel sheets to plan. Yeah, a lot of Excel sheets. And we literally had a priority list. So priority list, like what I mean is that we actually had a list of items that we wanted to get done for our house in terms of the renovation, and a list of things that we wanted to buy, like in terms of the furniture and appliances lah. So we ranked them according to importance and urgency, and based on that we decided like what can we forgo altogether, what do we need but maybe not so urgent, maybe things like microwave, yeah, not so urgent, I can live without a microwave for a while kind of thing. And then what were things that were important and we really needed it when we moved in, so things like a bed, things like a fridge. Yeah. Fun fact is that even our bed frame was under important but not urgent. We were just like, okay, I put the mattress on the floor first, or if really cannot afford a bed frame yet. But thankfully, we managed to afford a bed frame with some good discounts and our cancelled wedding. And in the process of coming up with this priority list, we actually had to have a lot of conversations with one another in terms of what we wanted to prioritize and what we can compromise. And I think through those discussions, we managed to reason out and sharpen one another's thoughts in terms of like what was really essential and important. And eventually, that was how we came up with our list of things that the priority list lah. Someone asked for practical tips with regards to budgeting, so here it is. I think in our conversations, we actually discussed, and I think these are some things that not a lot of people will tell you upfront, not a lot of interior designers will tell you upfront, but I'm here to share with you guys after gathering from all these interior designers and through our own experience. I think one thing that we decided to compromise on was built-ins. So our house doesn't have a lot of built-ins, as you can see from the home tour video. So we gave up things like a TV feature wall. We didn't want things like a built-in cabinet. Our toilet features, we also kind of kept it to a minimal. So I think the good thing about not having built-ins is, of course, it helps you to save money. And in terms of the resale value, I think it's quite good also that people, they have the flexibility to design the house at a cheaper price because they don't have to hack down your existing renovations. So I think it does help to boost up your resale value a little bit if you're considering to move house. I mean, if this is not the house that you're planning to stay for the long run. The second thing that we compromised on was fancy lights. So I think nowadays a lot of houses, they have very beautiful cove lights, and it does give a very nice warm touch, adds on to the ambience of the house. But it's very expensive. Because for cove lighting, okay, maybe I'll insert a picture here to show you what is a cove lighting. Maybe not everyone knows what it is, but for cove lighting, how it works is that you have to build a false ceiling in your house. So the very fact that you have to add in another layer of ceiling, of course you're going to add on more money lah. So it's going to be very expensive. So one of the interior designers that we met actually kept encouraging us to go for cove lights. He was like, it's very beautiful, it's very nice. It's very important that you have a good ambience when you come home, that you feel comfortable, and all like how you achieve that is really by lighting. So I think cove light is very important. Then at the end when we asked him how much it costs, I think we were like, okay, forget it, I don't think we can afford it. Yeah, so we compromised on that, and we instead had like track lights to help to add on to the ambience lah. So yeah, I think it was a good compromise that we made. The third thing was no fancy flooring. So we kept to a very minimal kind of flooring. We have vinyl tiles, wood-like vinyl tiles. So we had the whole house done in this same design. And only the wet areas like the toilet and the kitchen, we put in porcelain tiles lah. So I think that helped us to save a bit of cost because I mean, you can buy one material in bulk for the entire house, and we also didn't choose like fancy floorings like wood. Some nice wood-like tiles also cost a bit more because the nicer wood-like tiles tend to come from places like Europe, so that will cost more also. Yeah, so we kept to something that was nice, minimal, and I mean just enough for us. We were good with it, and that helped us to save quite a bit also lah. So what we decided to spend a bit more on was two things. One was to hack down the kitchen wall. The second thing was we decided to have a bit nicer toilets, but like I said, we didn't have any additional fancy features in the toilet. We just decided to retile the toilet to make it look a bit more neutral coloured. Yeah, so these two things, I mean, although it did cost a bit, but what actually transpired behind this decision was that we discussed and decided that these design changes do make a difference when we are hosting guests and when we are hosting our family. So having an open kitchen, it does help facilitate a bit more social interaction. Like when you are preparing things in the kitchen for your guests, they can look in, they can see what you're doing, you can still talk, have conversation. Your guests also feel less intimidated when they go inside the kitchen to help you. When they want to step in to take something, they don't feel as pressured. So we decided that that was something that was valuable, it was something that was important, so we were like, okay, we will spend a bit more on that lah. And nicer toilets, yeah, this one was something that we discussed for very long. We even had a few arguments because of it, but at the end we decided to go with it because my standpoint was that I mean, if your whole house is very nice, then the guests go inside the toilet, then the toilet doesn't look very comfortable. Do you think the guests will have a good experience at home? At your home? No? So we decided to retile the toilet and make it a bit more cozy lah. So moving on to the savings portion of this question, again we used a lot of Excel sheets in planning for our savings. So we used it to project our savings so that we could also have a rough idea of how much of our income we had to save every month. So practically speaking, we saved as much as we could because we really needed the money. Okay, I think to give a bit of context, because I was very blessed to be able to be on a scholarship when I was in my university days. So I mean, from the allowance that I received, I could still save quite a bit lah because I didn't spend that much also during my uni days. So because of that, I had a portion of savings after I graduated, which was helpful to kind of supplement some of the expenses that we had in our housing expenses. But practically speaking, there are some tips that we can share with you guys. It might not really be applicable to everyone because it really depends on your lifestyle preference and what you prioritize as well. But for us, how we saved was number one, we tracked our expenses. So tracking our expenses helped us to identify some things that maybe we were overspending on, but we wouldn't have noticed if not for the fact that we tracked it lah. So based on that, then we could also be a bit more aware in terms of where we should cut our expenses, which parts can go into our savings. The second thing was that we didn't go on any overseas trips. We did go on one, but that was because it was a church missions trip, and we decided that was important to us lah. So we went together with a few friends. I didn't go on a grad trip, he didn't go on a grad trip. We decided to save it, save it for our marriage purposes. And we didn't go on any too fancy dates, so we don't go to bars. We tried to minimize all the high cost activities. I mean, save the special occasions like birthdays and anniversaries. Yeah. We didn't go to fancy restaurants. Tried to eat kopitiam as much as we could. I remember we used to go to this place called Eat. I'm sure all of you probably would have heard about it before. You see it very often. They sell very, very nice laksa. So I think that was like the #1 place that we would go for dates. Pro tip for guys, we didn't get a very expensive engagement ring. We decided that it was not very worthwhile. He did ask me like whether or not I had a budget in mind. I think as much as you want to keep it romantic and all, I think it's sometimes quite important to have these conversations so that your expectations are managed and there's no like miscommunication. Like maybe the guy think that you want a very expensive ring, but actually you don't mind one. Then he in the end go and buy a very expensive ring. In the end you overspend on the ring. Yeah, so have these conversations to kind of be on the same page when it comes to these financial matters lah.
I think that it's also a good opportunity for like couples to understand one another a bit better. When we have these conversations about, I guess, kind of a bit more awkward things like a diamond ring or not a diamond ring, like the engagement ring. It doesn't have to be a diamond ring. And how this, you know, like what are our takes on money, what are our takes on this thing called the engagement ring, how important is it, how do we through these conversations we really see what the person values, and that goes a long way into adding on to how we understand each other and how we would be communicating about these things, you know, in the future as well lah.
Yeah, I really agree. I think while we had our disagreements and the process at times was challenging, but I do feel that it brought us a lot closer because we were forced to think about our future together and to align our perspectives to one another and try and seek to understand each other, which was very beneficial for us as a couple. And the last tip is, if you're a working adult, do save your bonus money. I think it's a very good opportunity to save and help you to build up your financial resources, because bonus money is, it's bonus, right? It's out of your ordinary expenses. So I think if you are in the process of preparing for a big expense like getting a house, right, then this bonus money really comes in handy, so do try and save it.
I think at this point we also want to really add on some of our thoughts about expectations. I think Hilary shared a little bit in her previous videos about how we have to manage some of our expectations in getting a house and furnishing the house and all that. I think what it took was really sitting down to think through and to talk about some of these expectations that we might have that might have to go at times, and where these are coming from. Is it the YouTube videos we watch? Is it, those nice advertisements that you see on the ID banners, or is it your own previous house, or peers or friends, yeah, who have luxurious terrace houses as their first house or something. Nothing wrong with that, just being aware of our own expectations and our own means, and in the midst of that, making sense of what kind of lifestyle we would want, what are some things that we value. So for us, hosting people and interacting with people, that is something that we value. So the open kitchen concept, that was something that was a bit of a no-brainer for us. Yeah, so I guess really thinking about what matters to you as a couple, what matters to you as a homeowner, what are you going to use the house for. If you're using the house primarily for sleeping, then just go big on your bedroom. Yeah, if you're using the house for hosting people, then put your money in that. If you are using the house as a chill place, then go ahead and invest in that. Whatever is what you value. I think is where you should spend your money on lah.
And moving on to our last question, have we ever worried about not having enough? Yeah. All the time, the time.
I think this worry has always been a very background stress kind of thing for us, because both of us work in a field that is really not the most lucrative. So thinking about money has always been a bit of a stressor for at least me, but I think both of us.
Yeah.
I think to share one funny episode was how we had a previous quarrel. One of those days while waiting for the grant application to go through and everything. Interesting thing was that day I was really super stressed about money, and that doesn't happen very often. That I was so aware that I was stressed about money, and so it manifested as quarrels between us, and finally at night that night, as I sat down and I was just trying to calm down, I realized that it was really my own anxiety, my own worry about money that was causing a lot of this tension between us. Funny thing is, I just felt like maybe I should go and check my CPF account to see how much was inside, and lo and behold, when I opened up my CPF account, there was such a huge sum of money in there. I couldn't make sense of what was going on. So then it dawned on me, it occurred to me that the grant money has actually already come in, before we even received the letter saying that the grant had been approved. And on the same day, my mother just decided to transfer me a sum of money, saying that, hey son, this is to help you out. It's a sum of money that I don't really need at this point in time. So that to me was quite crazy, that on the same day that I was feeling so stressed out about money, finances came in from different places, and it started to make sense to me that I am being taken care of, I am being provided for, and that was a moment of just like, wow, I am so thankful for what I have. And us purchasing the flat together was something that is supported, something that people around us cared about lah. So that to me was a very memorable moment, a very defining moment also for me, that I remember very clearly to this day. That we suddenly had just enough to buy this house and to be able to start our marriage journey in a new house.
I think this whole process was really something that we couldn't do without God lah. I think the timeliness of how the finances came in, and how we really, like, at almost every moment felt like we weren't going to have enough. It really struck us, like, after the whole process, when everything was settled, that if not for God's provision, we wouldn't have made it. Yeah, and I think when we say just enough, right, we really mean just enough.
Yeah.
If we had just a little bit less, we wouldn't have been able to pay for whatever we needed to pay for, in terms of the housing, the down payment, in terms of the renovation cost, the furniture. So really, I think this whole process has been very meaningful for us, not just as a couple, in terms of building our relationship and our marriage, but also in terms of our own individual faith journey. Like, it really reminded us of how we are taken care of by God, and we were so thankful for it. So I think just an encouragement for those of you who are watching this and who are also maybe in the midst of planning for a house and are worried about finances. I mean, if you are a believer like the both of us, then I just want to reassure you that God is watching out for you, that He is taking care of your needs also, and we just have to remember to trust Him lah. And for those of you who don't share the same faith as us, I do hope that this video also encourages you to know that you're not alone lah in this whole struggle of managing finances as a young adult. I do think that living in Singapore can be quite expensive at times, and it can be challenging also. I do know that sometimes, like, it can be really anxiety inducing when you consider about your finances, and the thought of not having enough can be very worrying lah. So I really just encourage you to seek support from your friends, your close friends, your family, to share about some of your worries with people that you trust as well, so that there are people who are able to journey with you during this process. And with that, we've come to the end of our video, our 2-part series. So we hope that you enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you in some way. I mean, we do acknowledge that we are not experts, we don't really have the answers to everything, but we also acknowledge that not a lot of people step out to share about their experiences of some of their adulting woes. So we hope that this is helpful to some of you guys, and also we hope that you do feel encouraged by what we share, and like I said, to remember that you are not alone in some of these struggles. So if you do find this video helpful, do give it a thumbs up, like this video, and also let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. I'll be happy to answer them as well personally in the comments. And if you have any ideas or anything that you would like us to talk about, you can also let me know in the comments, or if you're a friend of mine, you can drop me a message. I'll be happy to take suggestions. And do subscribe to my channel if you are interested to find out more about the average Singaporean's daily life. I'll be doing a video once every 2 weeks. So do stick around, and I'm excited to continue sharing about our experiences and our life journey, our adulting woes with all of you guys. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we really appreciate all the support that you have shown us in our previous video. Really thank you all for being so kind to us with your words. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!